All right.
Welcome to EDU Endpoint Office Hours, November 18th. We'll be covering most of the Ignite announcements that we can today to the best of our abilities. But there's a lot. And that's what I was about to say, is that we were kind of joking earlier. This is like marketing Christmas, right? Like they just have their work cut out for them. So many blogs published and, coordinating across all these different teams. And so we're going to do our best to run through the big announcements. We're going to do our best to back and forth so that neither one of us are talking too much, and hopefully we can open it up for some Q&A. I do want a show of hands though, or you could throw it in the comments. Have you all been participating in Ignite? I'm assuming digitally. I don't think you would go to Ignite and then jump on our call unless you really loved us.
I would
But
really hope that you wouldn't do that.
I would expect you to still be at the conference. But if you at least listened to the keynote and maybe started looking at some of the breakout sessions, be sure to share your thoughts. It was a long keynote, I felt like. Yeah, is anyone participating?
I watched like 20 minutes of the keynote, and it was all about agents.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to read all this other stuff, so I don't have time to listen to agents right now.
Wait, when you say agents, like what is that? Is that like I picture Men in Black or something, like Secret
No,
Service?
it was Judson talking to like Mercedes-Benz and
Yeah.
like I'm like, I don't got time for this right now.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
got 20 blog posts to read.
I haven't even counted how many there are. So many blogs. Okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to advance forward really quick before we get into these announcements. If you're in the Dallas area, if you're a customer near Dallas or an hour away or so, and you want to drive up, on December 10th and 11th, we're having an in-person summit, an in-person event. And we've got Scott Manchester, who's the VP of Windows Cloud, Jason Rozak, VP of Intune, Christian Brinkoff, he's one of our principal PMs for Windows 365 and AVD, and he's kind of an influencer. You've probably seen him around before. But all three of them will be here in Dallas speaking. We've got a site at the Marriott, and we'll be talking about all this announcements at Ignite today, and kind of hearing the future of Windows and Intune from the product leaders themselves. So if I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there in person. So if you want to come meet me,
Meet Garrett.
and you want to
He'll
come
give you
hang
his
out,
autograph.
if you
He'll
think
sign
my
stuff.
autograph is worthy enough to have, I'm happy to give you one. Um,
He'll sign your
yeah, go.
Windows 3.11 floppy disks. So if you got those, all of them, all like
I
20.
might have stickers of those. But anyways, y'all feel free to register. Share it with your friends, colleagues, if you know someone in the area. It's not specific to education. It's open up to everyone. We'll have some other companies, other customers talking specifically about their experiences with these products. And so great opportunity to connect. So
Will there be
come join us.
snacks?
What?
Will there be snacks?
You know what? There will be
Ah,
light snacks and refreshments, I'm told. It's
light.
actually 2 days. So the first day is like breakout sessions, and then the second day is keynotes. So it's a little backwards, but I kind of like it because it really equips attendees with like what we've done, where we're at, and then telling you where we're going the next day. So you can
You
kind
don't
of
want to
break it
hear
up.
those boring. You don't want to hear the boring VPs. You want to just get to the tech. You want to get to
Yeah,
like
and we'll have like the
the
link
real stuff.
devices, right? Like you can
There we go.
get your hands on one of these, you can
Yeah,
feel it, you can
yeah,
touch
one of
it.
these, like this. Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
yeah. Look, we're twins.
we're
We have
twins, and
matching
we could like throw
link
like
devices.
skeet shooting, skeet shooting. Okay.
Um. Okay, enough of that. So scan that QR code, register. Okay.
There you go. There's like 20,
Um.
20 floppies in that screenshot in that picture there Carl posted. So you have to sign his box of Windows 3.1 disks.
Okay, that's actually awesome, Carl. If that's actually yours, that's That's legit.
Is that legit, Carl? Is that really yours, or did you just find that on the internet?
You don't have to come off mute. If you just want to type, you can.
Oh, you can just type it. Anyway, here you go. you have a lot of things to talk about, Garrett. So I'm just.
We really do. We have a lot. Okay, there have been, obviously it's Ignite. Lots of updates coming out of Ignite. If you see all the blogs, we have 4 links. I'm not going to even I'm just going to show you this, and I'll throw all the links in the chat and allow you guys to read all of this. But oh, well, Intune's only got a couple there. But then Windows, and then Windows 365 AVD. Look at all this. This is nuts. So we'll kind of get into it, and hopefully Richard and I can do a good enough job to bounce off of one another so we can keep it light. Definitely throw your questions in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer, but a lot of this is new to us. We did get briefed on some of this prior to the event, but there's still just a lot. So with that being said, I'm going to get started. And I'm going to move my screen over here. And actually, you know what? Hold up. I'm going to do this first. We're running.
You're not going to start with the book of news, are you?
I am going to start with the book of news.
You're going to be there for 6
starting
weeks.
with the book of news. Hold on.
It's not even a book. It's like a tome.
Yeah, it's
great. Tome of news.
Okay, Okay, Rachel, I'm gonna make you do it. Open up the PowerPoint and throw all the links in the chat for just this page.
Throw all the links in the chat.
Because it's not working for me.
Okay, hang on.
That way they can sort of follow along.
Sort of follow along. All right.
As I do this. But yeah, I am gonna start with the book of news. Because if you haven't seen the book of news before, we generally do this. What are you talking about? Are you talking to yourself?
I'm trying to paste the links into the chat, and they're massive. The font size is huge.
Windows Shift V.
Oh yeah, that.
Or Control Shift V. Sorry.
Control Shift V. Well, that's not good. That's just the text.
Oh, but it did remove the.
Here's what you guys get. You get all the links in one big nasty block.
We're yelling at you. Okay.
This is what you get.
This link here, we do this for all of our big conferences like Build, Ignite, etc. And this book of news is published. And so this is actually broken up between all the products that we have. And you can go explore, what is Agent 365? What's new in Copilot? And you can just see what is all new out there. So I call this to your attention because everything's listed in there that is important for you to know, plus a lot more. But we've also introduced this new AI capability where you can have it reformat this as a journalist. So if I flip this up, it'll give me these instant summaries as if I'm a journalist or a technical decision maker or a developer. I don't know. That's new, but very handy if you're looking for a consolidated list of every announcement that we have at Ignite. So.
So Garrett, if you do a Control F and just do Intune, that's what I did this morning when I woke up. I just rolled over, grabbed my phone, and just searched Intune.
Yep.
And it gives you I was doing on my phone. I had a lot more than 10 though. But I think it's because you have the instant
this is my journalist. If you turn this off,
then you get everything, right?
And then do it.
31. Yeah, it's 30 some hits or something. So
you can
we're going to talk about all this stuff here in the next 45 minutes. So,
and we're not. I mean, we say we're going to. There's no way we can do it. So we'll probably lean on you guys. What do you want to learn more about based off these announcements? Where should we dive a little bit deeper? We'd love your feedback on that. So, with that, I'm going to start with this one. I'm not going to read it to you because it's too long, but this is essentially what the Ignite book of news is for Ignite announcements, and this blog is for kind of Intune, Windows 365 AVD. This is really everything that you want to know about what we're announcing at a very high level that you can go and read. It's a lot of text. It's a lot of information. But if you read through this, I think it does a really good job of explaining how we are transforming the Windows OS, which is about to celebrate its 40th year, by the way, 40 years old, into the canvas for AI. So as we talk about, you'll hear marketing terms such as the frontier firm. You'll hear things like agentic workflows and agents and things that we've already talked a little bit about, right? Microsoft is innovating a lot in this space to ensure that agents are integrated directly into the Windows OS platform. So we're evolving that platform. We've got agent connectors where we can allow those agents to interact with the local system itself. So if you wanted to use an AI agent to pull images from your pictures folder inside of File Explorer, right? You can actually put in a prompt to do that and it can read it. Now, we've built a lot of securities and new tooling in the OS to ensure that that's allowed. The agent is making itself present and known to the user itself, like, hey, we're going to go perform this action. We need your permission to do so. And you have to go allow that. So that's kind of what we mean by those agent connectors, ability to integrate directly into the OS, but then also providing this agent workspace that will allow it to operate safely on the device. And actually, as we dive into some of these other blogs, we get a little more pointed into that in how we're integrating that into things like Purview DLP and Endpoint DLP. So pretty cool stuff. Again, I think this blog does a really good job of laying out that vision of how agents are going to be integrated directly into the OS. Oh, and how agents are also going to be integrated into the taskbar. I like to use the example of Researcher. If you're using Copilot today, then you might have heard about our Researcher agent, which I actually really enjoy using. But one of the things about it is it's using thinking mode right behind the scenes, and it can take a really long time to run the prompts against Researcher. It'll go out there and it'll do the research for you on your behalf based on the prompt that you put in. But because that can take a little while, you don't want to just sit there and watch it do its thing. You're going to multitask. And so we've built a way that those agents integrate directly into the taskbar of Windows. And we're also going to inform you of the status of that. So, currently running still pending the flow right now that's happening, but then it will alert you when it's done, and it will have interactions in there. So if it has a new question that it wants to ask you or interrupts that flow somehow, it'll naturally invoke that notification so you can interact with it right there within the OS itself. You don't have to open up the Copilot app and go into Researcher to respond. You can do it right there in the OS itself. And then it will then continue on, and then once it's done, it'll change to a status code and say, hey, we're complete, and inform you that it's complete. So I think that's actually going to be really nice, because even today, you run a prompt inside of Research and you kind of have to babysit it a little bit. So really cool stuff coming into that OS level integration. There's a few other blogs as we progress that dive deeper into that. What else was in this one that I wanted to talk about? I think that was probably it. This one also dives into eventually some things with Windows 365, like multipath being available, right, which will deliver seamless failover and boost connections for those virtual machines. External identity support, we have a dedicated blog on that one. Regional host pools, being able to remove those cross-region dependencies, that's coming soon. So there are some little nuggets in here. Even this migration API from moving Azure Virtual Desktop and other solutions that you may be using over to Windows 365. Security and resilience, again, like going into the Windows Resiliency Initiative and how we're bringing things like quick machine recovery, which we've talked about on this call before. We've got some more controls around that with Intune that are forthcoming. We have now the ability within Intune to interact with the Windows recovery environment at scale, point-in-time restore capabilities. So again, just a massive blog, Windows 11, passkey integrations, just so much. It just keeps going.
It's just really just a collection of everything, because we're going to talk about a lot of these things more pointedly in the rest of the stuff that was announced.
Yeah. So as we continue on, because I want you all to get to the meat of this stuff, again, we kind of it's like breakout sessions in blog form, right? So we've got the big hero announcement, then we're going to jump over here. And by the way, I think this is like got to be in the running for the longest blog title ever, right? Preparing for what's next.
Was it written by AI?
So I kind of think so. Like in my own reading, like there's a lot of similarities in the writing, right? It's not this, it's this. Think about it that way, right? Which is a telltale of Copilot. We joke about that all the time. But again, it does summarize a lot of what we're doing. So this one is going to dive a little bit deeper into that agent workspace that I mentioned and how we're going to manage those agents both in Windows and in Windows 365. A little bit more about the IT manageability of the agent connectors, right? And we'll continue to go through these blogs as we dive a little bit deeper into this one. This one's getting more into the OS, so now we're talking about passkey integrations. Pay attention to this one too, because this is where we highlight the post-quantum cryptography algorithms, which is new capabilities to prevent attackers from hijacking, machines using quantum tactics, basically, right? We've got these capabilities out there today. So Windows is one of the first, if not the first OS to be able to have post-quantum crypto APIs available within the OS. And we also have hardware accelerated BitLocker coming into Windows to strengthen the encryption of BitLocker and making it harder to break. Sysmon functionality, we have all of this broken out into other blogs. Okay, I'm going to jump over, right? See, again, we're just getting a little bit deeper into the same announcements, just another level. As we progress forward, this one's more focused on developers. So if you have developers in your organization, and I know most of our higher education, we've got an arm of folks that may be developing, especially in the research area. But if we have any, like other companies out there that may be related to education that are watching this, I think this is going to be really critical for you all as we navigate integrating Model Context Protocol MCP support on Windows. This isn't new. We announced this at Build, but we're entering into that public preview stage now. And again, tying that into those connectors for the agents that we've already talked about into the file system. So I think this will actually be really beneficial for a lot of developers as you're developing on Windows itself. So
yeah, it's probably not so much for our audience that would be, but it's just more so just to be aware that, we're so early in this with agents and all this development. Like the OS has to kind of catch up to what the AI labs are doing. And then on top of that, the developers have to start working on this stuff and we have to put the security controls in. So it's like there's all these moving parts that, can kind of be very complicated to really kind of wrap your head around. So it's more so like, don't have to remember all this stuff, but just know that like the OS is changing and to help facilitate a lot of the stuff that developers are going to be building on top of this.
Yeah. This one is also important because this is where we highlight where we can turn those agentic experiences off. They're going to be experimental at first. So we're integrating that directly into the system capability. And then here's a really good example of what I was talking about from the privacy perspective and, actually having the user allow that agent to perform those duties on their behalf. But all of these settings here, and I kind of need to zoom in a little bit there for you, but notice, right, you can disable and enable specific connectors within the environment. And then we also will have the ability to do this at scale with Intune as well. So we will have MDM support, CSP, GPOs, will be able to enable and disable those agents. So you will have control over that. Some of that is going to be in preview today. Some of it will be coming later in 2026. So notice that it's coming later, not immediately available to you. But they are already working on that. Here's a great example here of those CSPs within Intune itself. So notice you can disable that workspace. You can disable the connectors. And then if you want to get specific to those remote agent connectors, you can as well. Lots of videos out there that you can watch on how we're integrating into Windows Foundry and some other workflows in there. So I'm going to stop talking about that for a minute and jump over to kind of another hero announcement that I think we're seeing some traction within the education space too, with secure browsers and AI browsers. So Edge for Business, if you're not aware, we have Edge, but we also have different controls out there that makes it a managed browser, right? So there's an Edge for Business admin center. You can actually manage the Edge browser itself. And some of the capabilities that we had in our consumer Edge offering are being brought to the business side. Things like Copilot mode. So with Copilot mode, we're integrating Copilot directly into Edge a little bit better, but we will be able to manage that within the organization through that Edge for Business admin center. So things like agent mode will start taking effect. We can, let's see, there was the Copilot inspired new page, but multi-tab reasoning. This is what I was thinking about just now. Is like if you have multiple tabs open and the Copilot agent itself can reason over all of those tabs. Browsing controls that we talked about, those agentic controls. We've got the enterprise data protection. So I think this is just a good blog to highlight these AI capabilities are coming to Edge. We do have the ability to manage this. It integrates into DLP, data protection policies as well. So if you haven't started looking at Edge for Business as the service, you'll want to start doing that. Richard and I were talking earlier, and we should probably have a dedicated session to that. I think we're seeing some organizations looking at adopting other browsers that are not Edge to accomplish certain tasks. But it's important to recognize why you may not want to, and the controls that they lack that we can accomplish within Edge. So there's a technical blog here for Copilot mode as well that you'll probably want to deep dive into as well. Any other thoughts there, Richard, on that one?
No, I think just the difference between Intune management and the Edge admin service, I think is kind of important to understand, like the differences between the two, like where you manage the Edge policies and stuff, and that's something that I think Garrett and I will try to get someone from the Edge team to kind of talk about, like what's the story behind creating an entirely different place to go manage Edge, and how both portals work together. Yeah. Because on one side, you can create your policies in settings catalog for Edge, but most people don't even know that, hey, I can go over to this Edge admin service and I can go see all the stuff, kind of like with Office, like with M365 apps in Office. There's a completely different portal. If you go to config.office.com, there's all these things that you can see over there. But if you are only configuring that stuff within Intune, you're not really getting the full picture. So that's something I think we should probably have a session on, maybe sometime after the new year.
Yeah. Let's see. There's another blog here that just highlights those capabilities for Copilot and the AI experiences. So Dan, I hear you. This is the blog that's going to teach you how to turn off the agentic capabilities there, but also give you a lot of reasons why you may not want to, right? So definitely check this one out for your users. I have this sharing bar in my way, so I apologize. We got to move fast because we're only still on the first page. Scalable Windows resiliency for new tools.
Is this on your first slide? That's still on the first slide.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's technically the second slide.
No, this is on, because after Edge for Business, you're done. Did you want me to go into Intune now and give you a break?
Yes. Let's do it. I'm going to stop sharing.
Yeah, let me go over the Intune stuff here. You know, like a drink of water.
I was just like, I'm gonna keep going.
You're just rolling.
Keep going.
You were rolling. All right.
And let me throw the next links in the chat for you all.
You mean the next two?
The next two.
The next two. I get two. I get two links. All right. Let me roll up my sleeves here. It's gonna be in here for a long one.
I expect you to go fast.
Oh God. Okay. Well, see, it's funny because it's only two links, but this blog post is actually pretty long with all the stuff that we're adding for Intune. Gary and I are kind of joking about like everyone else has always announced that Intune has two links. Okay, so what are we announcing with Intune and Ignite? So the first thing that everyone's all like wondering, like, hey, what's going on with Security Copilot being included in E5 now? Like, huge announcement. We didn't know that that was coming. That was kind of the oh, and one more thing announcement that none of us got briefed on. So that kind of came out of left field for us. But this being added to E5, good. I'm all for it. But we have no idea what's going to happen with A5 or G5 at the moment. So for those that are on A5, to be determined on what's going on there. We're going to try to figure out how this is going to transact, if it's going to happen at all. It may not happen. So we just don't know right now. But with this, now more people are going to get access to Security Copilot, and which means you're going to get access to Intune Copilot. And so with Intune Copilot, we are adding a few new things. There's actually 3 new agents that we're adding. The first agent is this change review agent. So what is this? Well, what this is going to be able to do is it's going to be able to use, we say advanced AI. I don't know what advanced AI means versus regular AI, but we're going to use advanced AI to analyze each change in context, checking for risks, conflicts, and compliance. Well, what this is really going to do is it's actually going to look at anything that is related to multi-admin approval script requests. We'll tie into that first. Longer term, change review agent is actually going to look at all various other changes and let you analyze that change via the change review agent. So right now it's going to be multi-admin approval, but we'll see what that looks like over time. The next one is policy configuration agent. So this is the second of 3 agents. What this will allow you to do is using natural language or a document. So you can either write a doc or you can just use natural language within the doc. I don't know if there's going to be like a chat window or something, or a chat box where you can just kind of type what you want. But what this is telling me here in this box, you can't really read it. I can zoom in about that much. I don't have zoom in installed on this box. But we can import a document, write instructions in plain language. The agent will match those instructions to the settings catalog and create a policy. In the blog post, we mention here, if you're under strict compliance around PCI, HIPAA, DISA, STIG, or any other industry-specific mandates, obviously compliance is critical. And so we want to make sure that we're obviously able to deploy the policies that we need to make sure that we're adhering to that compliance. And so using policy configuration agent, this should make things a bit easier instead of having to go and sift through the entire settings catalog with hundreds or thousands of different policies to go through. This should make that easier. We'll see. We'll just have to wait and see. It's not out yet, so we're just going to have to wait and see how that plays out. The last one is device offboarding agent. Now, when I saw this, I was like, oh, awesome. So instead of just Intune deleting its own objects with its own rule, now we can actually delete all of the objects. Well, as you start to read through this, what it's really doing is giving you a CSV file of all the other portals that have objects in them. And then you got to go clean them up on your own. There's no automated way of actually cleaning out your Intune object, your autopilot object, your Entra object, your MDE object, your XYZ object, like wherever else you got objects. It's just a CSV file. So I don't know if that's going to change in the future or we can automate that, but you're still going to have some sort of automation process to remove old stale device objects. So we'll see if this gets expanded on. Maybe it's a good like v.5, but it really should be working on automating some of the deletion stuff that you have to do manually. All right, so that's all going to roll out through E5 with Security Copilot. If you have Security Copilot today, all this stuff should be landing relatively soon. for those that are running M365 E5 and they're awaiting Security Copilot, that's going to happen sometime, I think, after the new year. So it's going to probably be, I think, February timeframe or somewhere around there. So it's going to be a bit before people start seeing this in the E5 tenants. We're also adding some assistive AI with Copilot for being able to reason over autopilot, endpoint privilege management, and advanced analytics data. I'm not quite sure exactly what that's going to look like, but it's going to be in the Explorer experience where we provide you some curated prompts to query over your data. We're now extending that to autopilot, EPM, and advanced analytics data. And then there's going to be a new admin tasks section in the console. The idea behind this is that within your tenant, you're going to have agents that recommend certain actions, but those actions need to go somewhere. So, because someone has to do something for them. We're not just going to have an agent just automatically start doing things in your tenant and potentially breaking things. So what you can see in this screenshot, which I don't understand how they take these screenshots because they all look like someone like took like a piece of peanut butter or something and like made it really blurry. But what this screenshot is showing here is that if you've ever been in the Defender Security Console, you've probably seen recommendations for Secure Score and various other things that tell you like turn on PUA for protection in block mode, block Win32 API calls from Office macros. Like you've probably seen these in the Defender Security Center. But a lot of these things require someone in Intune to do that work. And in the past, what people have done is if you've been in the security portal and you've wanted to make the Intune or let the Intune admin know, hey, I need you to do this. The way that this has worked in the past is that someone in the Intune or in the Defender security portal would create a task for the Intune admin, and then that task would show up in the Intune portal, but they'd be doing that manually. Well, now that's going to change, and you could do that with an agent to have those show up in the Intune console. So this will show you all of the admin tasks that you should be focused on to make your environment more secure. And so this isn't just going to be from the Defender portal, though. You're going to see it in other places as well. So all those admin tasks will show up in one place, and that will eventually show up in our tenants. It's on my tenant today. So it looks like we're looking first quarter of calendar year 2026. So maybe by March, we'll see it then. We're also going to see deployments, so if you're used to update rings, which if you're using Windows Update deployment, you should be using update rings, maybe you're using auto patch. But with update rings, that ring-based deployment behavior has only been allowed or been done by Windows Update. Well, now we're going to introduce that into application workloads as well. So you can now create deployment rings like you see with auto patch for application deployments as well. So if you wanted to slow roll a deployment out right now today for an app, you'd have to create a small group, deploy it, and then a larger group, and then finally a production group. Well, now we can actually create that ring-based deployment, not just with updates, but also with applications. We are also making an announcement, Garrett kind of touched on this a bit, is that there's a new feature, we're calling it just recovery. I don't know why we're just calling it recovery, but that's the name of it, according to this blog post. But what this is going to do is allow you to manage Windows RE. So as we all know, WinRE is it's a pretty difficult thing to manage. Not just updating it, adding drivers to it, but also being able to invoke RE as necessary. So if you wanted to remotely recover a machine, think of CrowdStrike. For those of you that had to deal with CrowdStrike, there was really no way to remotely access WinRE from a machine to get it to do something. Well, we're going to be adding that functionality into Intune. So if another CrowdStrike happens, you will be able to kick off WinRE, be able to recover that device remotely without having to touch the machine physically. So that right now is in limited private preview, should be hitting out, I would imagine, sometime next year. We're also introducing maintenance windows. See, Garrett, this blog post is much more difficult than your blog posts because they were all like separate posts. I've got like one post and I've got to like read every single bold thing in here to understand what we're talking about. But maintenance windows are coming to Intune. So if you've been using Config Manager for a long time, now we have maintenance windows in Intune. So just like Config, I don't think they're probably not going to operate exactly like Config Manager, but the concept should be very, very similar. AutoPatch is now going to introduce something called proactive update readiness, which there's a separate blog post on this, Garrett. You're probably going to talk about it here in a minute.
Yep.
But the AutoPatch update readiness functionality will allow you to understand if your devices are ready for updates, or if there's any potential problems with them, maybe being out of disk space, connectivity issues, safeguard holds. If you're not making, if you don't meet hot patch prerequisites, like if you don't have virtualization-based security turned on, all those things will be looked at to make sure that your devices are ready to install updates. EPM, we're getting some new support here for, actually this is, I think this should already be in. If it's not in now, it should be in this service release, if not last service release. But EPM now allows you to elevate applications under the current user's identity. In the past, we actually used a virtual account to do that. And so for some applications, it caused some problems, but that now has been taken care of. And there's also a EPM readiness dashboard that is coming. That says it's coming out first quarter of calendar year, but I saw this like in an what's new like service release like a month or two ago. So I don't know. Sometimes we say that things are out and released, and then it's like, well, they'll be out 3 months later. So who knows? But that's coming. It actually looks kind of cool. It'd be nice to have it now, but it looks like it's going to be coming the first quarter next year. We are also doing this one. Garrett and I actually were kind of arguing about a little bit yesterday, but installer script support for enterprise app catalog apps. So we've added this. This is generally available now. We added this a couple service releases ago. But in the what's new for Intune, we